There is a famous saying in Russia: it is better to have 100 friends than 100 rubles. It is usually quite an encouraging phrase, but in this case, the closest English version to it would be: with friends like this, who needs enemies?
Предлагаю тост за здоровье нашего друга, уважаемого председателя Китайской Народной Республики, господина Xi Jinping.
Отношения Москвы и Пекина развиваются по всем направлениям, и это дает видимые результаты.
However, since the invasion of Ukraine, Russia doesn't seem to have neither 100 rubles nor 100 friends.
Санкционное давление Запада будет усиливаться. Да, прошедшие годы, наши так называемые партнеры, уже напринимали бесчетное количество пакетов санкций.
European countries are ridding themselves of Russian oil and gas, and the ruble is in decline. Although the imposed sanctions have not destroyed the Russian economy, they forced it to restructure itself and to be more accommodating for new partnerships.
Страны Запада недооценили масштабы и глубину китайско-российского стратегического партнерства.
Си Цзиньпин прыгает в окоп к Владимиру Владимировичу. Теперь они уже в одном окопе.
The main goal of Russian state television is to convince the audience that this new friend is much better than all of the old ones combined. The partnership with this new friend should feel more reliable, safe, and longer lasting. To be fair, Xi and Putin do agree on one thing: neither of them wants to ever give up their power.
Все работает ровно так, как по-китайски. И еще один принцип, которым по сути придерживается председатель КНР, это заложенный в даосизме принцип неотесанного бревна. Не делай ничего, и не будет ничего не сделанного. Все движется ровно так, как Китаю нужно.
Hi everyone, this is Fake News, the show where we disprove Russian propaganda. My name is Valeria Ratnikova. I'm a journalist at TV Rain, a Russian independent TV channel in exile. Please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel. You might be surprised to learn that the Kremlin propagandists managed to find a person that they are enamored with almost as much as they are enamored with Putin. Hosts and so-called experts alike sing praises to the wisdom of the Chinese leader, cite his quotes, and call Xi Russia's best friend. Why are they trying so hard? Let's find out. The Chinese dragon and the Russian bear. Wisdom and spirituality, ancient cultures and traditional values. If you were to randomly turn on a Russian state TV channel, there will be no doubt left in your mind. Russia and China were destined to be together.
Сегодня наши страны не только стратегические партнеры, но и стратегические друзья.
Мы говорим о том, что мы соседи, и дополняем сразу, мы стратегические партнеры, и даже больше, мы стратегические друзья.
На самом деле это показывает глубочайшее уважение к нашей стране.
Но я это упомянул.
How romantic. The propagandists are restlessly arguing that the trade between China and Russia is the envy of the West, and that the Russian economy can easily flourish without Europe's help. When Putin recently visited China, that was all they could talk about. The Russian president, who is now a criminal wanted by the International Criminal Court, rarely leaves the country. Since the pandemic started, Putin has been trying to keep all his conversation partners at the largest distance possible, especially if they hadn't quarantined prior to seeing him. However, for his Chinese friend, Putin is willing to make any exception.
Высокопоставленные делегации приезжают на переговоры к Путину одна за другой. И иногда возникают даже своего рода пробки. Служба протокола на бешеной скорости лишь успевает менять таблички с фамилиями на стульях.
This is an excerpt from a show called Moscow Kremlin Putin. Yes, you heard that right. There is a program on state television named after the current president. Sounds almost like they already know the outcome of the presidential elections in March. This show even won the Russian version of the Emmys. Keeping true to its name, this program shows Putin's work in extreme detail. I would even say borderline TMI.
На земле, в аэропорту Пекина, люди в строгих костюмах подготовили красную ковровую дорожку такой длины, что им пришлось выступить как тяжелоатлетам. 4:30 утра по московскому времени. Уже несколько недель не просто жесткий, а даже жестокий рабочий режим.
This program portrays Putin's most mundane moments as action-packed spectacles. Have a look at this clip, but beware, this is the original video that was aired on television.
Посмотрите, какое количество людей вышло сейчас из этого зала. Все они слушали выступление президента России.
No detail is too small in Putin's visit to China. Even the socks of the Thai Prime Minister are of the essence. I'm not kidding. See for yourselves.
Марафон дневных встреч сменился вечерним нон-стопом. Страны такого большого и разного мира, с разной культурой, с традициями. Все хотят общаться с Россией.
В своей пекинской резиденции Путин уже встретился с премьером Таиланда, который пришел на переговоры в моднейших розовых носках.
This is the host of one of the main TV channels in the country, Russia One, Olga Skabeyeva. We recently made a whole video about her, so be sure to check it out after this one. Skabeyeva became a sensation in Western media after she called on the Chinese army to enter Russia. She thought that would help with Ukrainian attacks on the border regions of Russia. Again, I'm not kidding.
Пары, тройки, десятки миллионов китайских солдат. Сейчас бы прям то, что надо, то, что надо.
А почему вы так считаете?
Почему нет?
Ну, почему? Вы что, только считаете, солдаты должны гибнуть?
Ой, смотрю на Белгородскую область, думаю,
потенциалы?
как же нам не хватает китайской армии.
But no matter the angle at which the state media wants to portray Putin's relationship with Xi, there seems to be trouble in paradise. Even Putin's complimentary article in one of the main Chinese state-owned newspapers didn't help.
Российско-китайские отношения вышли на наивысший за всю их историю уровень и продолжают крепнуть. По своему качеству они превосходят военно-политические союзы времен Холодной войны.
But even Putin's grand visit to Beijing didn't convince the Chinese government to sign new gas contracts or to invest in building the Power of Siberia 2 pipeline. The Kremlin has been trying to make this project happen for 7 years now to ramp up their sales of fossil fuels to China. To reinforce his message, Putin even brought the heads of the state-owned oil and gas companies to meet with his dear friend Xi. But even that didn't make the Chinese leader have a change of heart. The contracts remain unsigned. China insists that Russia has to pay for the entirety of the new pipeline. Hey, what's a few $1 billion between friends? At the same time, when Xi visited Moscow in March, Putin assured him that the pipeline development was nearing completion, and the propagandists parroted his every word.
Отдельно сказали о силе Сибири-2 как о перспективном проекте, который нужен обеим странам. Тем самым мы видим подтверждение того, что, видимо, в ближайшее время сделка будет подписана.
Уровень экономических взаимоотношений переходит на совершенно другое, невиданное раньше взаимодействие.
If you watch Russian state TV closely, you might notice that while completely assured of their own greatness, Putin and his staff sure want to be more like their Chinese colleagues. To such an extent, in fact, that when Xi Jinping visited Moscow, the main Russian state-owned media company proudly presented a project which they developed with their Chinese counterparts. Try to guess the title of this project. It is, of course, Xi Jinping's favorite catchphrases. Again, not kidding.
时可破也，而不可夺坚；单可磨也，而不可夺赤。
Okay, let's get serious now. When the Chinese leader visited Moscow, the main state-owned TV channel aired his quotes on an hourly basis. They would subtitle them with a very promising line, Xi Jinping's voice.
理想信念的坚定，来自思想理论的坚定。
The same channel aired a program with a more menacing title, The Formula of Power. It talks about the methods with which Xi has been ruling China for the past 10 years, even more menacing. By the way, it was Xi who first came up with the idea to arbitrarily cancel the term limit for a ruler in China. Putin followed in his footsteps when in 2020 he annulled his previous presidencies, claiming that legally he is running for his very first term in 2024. But that program on state TV didn't mention any of that, of course. Instead, focused on meaningless and abstract quotes by Xi.
Руководство крупной страной с таким огромным населением и непростой реальностью требует, помимо всего прочего, умения глубоко разбираться в положении дел в стране. Работать надо еще с полной отдачей сил, без малейшей нерадивости и небрежности. Для того, чтобы ковать железо, нужно сначала подковать самого себя.
Will you just listen to these highly provocative questions from the host?
Естественно, всех интересует что-то связанное с вашей личной жизнью, ваши увлечения, как вы проводите свободное время, насколько его хватает, чтобы проводить время с семьей, каковы ваши увлечения, еще раз. Итак, если можно, расскажите немножко о себе.
Now listen closely. When meeting with Xi, Putin said something truly inconceivable.
Мы даже немножко вам завидуем.
But to be fair, there is one aspect where the propagandists are telling the truth. China's investments into Russia did in fact increase since the war began, by 150% in 2022 alone. However, according to various experts in economics, the real volume of these investments is still quite low. Beijing is reluctant to fully support Moscow, fearing that China will get sanctioned as well. China can't fully substitute the European market for Russia either, but the hosts on Russian state television are expressing the sign of the times. They used to like European trips, villas, clothes, cars, and now they have to find and learn to like these things elsewhere.
Мы сейчас купили чудесную совершенно китайскую машину, потрясающую, во много-много раз дешевле, чем те машины, которые мы покупали раньше, да, там немецкие какие там.
I wonder, what kind of Chinese car could have substituted Simonyan's €100,000 Mercedes convertible or Maybach? She hasn't shared the make or model of it, but apparently her husband, also propagandist on Russian state TV, Tigran Kyasayan, intends to drive said Chinese car, mind you, from Moscow to Chinese resorts. Or maybe he's just suggesting that his viewers do so.
Ребята, те, кто очень любит за границей отдыхать, хотя у нас великая страна огромная, осваивайте курорты китайского края. Вот мне кажется так.
However, I think Kyasayan will be sad to learn that the visa-free entry between China and Russia has still not been agreed upon.
Я купила себе 3 пары туфелек Гуччи, по 2000 рублей каждая. Чудесная. Где-то в том же Китае, наверное, отшита. Надеюсь, что и у нас. Поддельная, разумеется. Я из принципа теперь покупаю только поддельное.
But the propagandists' main focus is the future. They are looking to it with eyes full of hope that the entire world will soon follow after Xi and Putin.
Это уже Третья мировая или Вторая холодная. К чему это все может нас привести?
Ну, на самом деле Путин и Си Цзиньпин уже в открытую просто голосом говорят о том, что мы строим новый миропорядок, старый ушел. Это признали, между прочим, вот эти вот и пираты тоже в лице Блинчикова. Он же сказал, что все, тот мир закончился.
What do you think? Do you feel a new world order emerging? Let us know in the comments. That should do it for today's episode. Thank you all for watching, and please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to our channel and share our videos. This has been Fake News, the show where we disprove Russian propaganda. My name is Valeria Ratnikova, and I will see you next time for more insanity.